good evening, and welcome to this week's Fiberific Live Craft and Chat, where we craft and chat live. I've just realized that I moved my screen so I could read something and then didn't move it back. Good job, me. So I want to talk about something. You guys know, I troll the internet, I read things, I keep a little finger on the pulse in lots of different crafting groups online. And there's been I don't know the best way to put this diplomatically, but there's been some massive discussion over what's happening with the US postal situation. So if you are not aware, currently right now, there is quite a long list of either countries, Australia included, or companies currently not shipping to the USA. Now, this is temporary, okay? Like, that's the first thing I want to get out there. It is temporary. So what is happening is the USA have demanded that all countries shipping to the USA collect all the tariffs and additional fees that the USA want to impose on their citizens before it's shipped. So a lot of these countries and companies like postal services are putting in place processes so they can do this. So it's not like a long-term, like we're never shipping back to this country. No, it's just no other country has asked us to do this before. So we have to put some processes in place. So that's one thing. And that's a temporary thing. But the thing that has really sort of jumped out to me is whenever somebody tries to discuss this topic of the additional tariffs coming into the USA, or all the additional fees, because it's actually quite hefty. With the USA sort of rolling back or turning off, I don't know the exact description of its de minimis program, which meant that any parcels coming into the USA valued at under 800 USA dollars on that day incurred no additional fees. So that's been rolled back. So that's not happening now. So different countries have got some different guidelines. Like in Australia, you can still send letters, you can still send gifts under a certain size, but anything sort of bigger, or if someone's paid for it, you can't send that right now. Now, this is what's happening in a lot of different countries, and a lot of individual companies are trying to navigate this as well, because it's not just a case of the postal services have to incur this extra charge. These individual companies, and quite often individual people who run like businesses standalone by themselves, have to work out how to charge this out, because no one's going to wear this cost. This cost is going to go back to the end consumer. So people are trying, and the other problem is there's no like hard and fast, okay, it is X% for this. No, it's going to depend. And I've been reading some really interesting articles from, oh my gosh, I should have grabbed the link and I didn't, but it was someone from the Craft Yarn Alliance. No, not the Craft Yarn Alliance. What am I saying? The Craft Industry Alliance had been interviewed for like a more major publication. I cannot think. I'll find it and I'll put it in the description. And what they were saying is that most people, or a lot of people individually, don't understand how this all works. And so a lot of the small players, rather than break rules or break laws or put themselves at financial risk, are just going, okay, I can't ship to the USA right now because I don't understand what on earth's going on, because all these costs have to be passed on. Okay. Now, before I get any, well, just buy American, just buy local, stuff like that, I want to ask you, do you actually know where your yarn comes from? Because there's a solid bet that those people that are in these groups and in this chat, not this chat, but in these chats, you guys here are usually pretty level-headed. But they're jumping in and they're just trouncing on these people. Well, I'll just buy American. I'll just support American businesses. And I think that is awesome. And I absolutely think people should be supporting their local businesses. And I absolutely think people should be supporting their local indie dyers and their local indie businesses. Do that. Absolutely. But know this, as their stocks start to run out, where has it got to come from? So if you are a yarn crafter, have a look at the location of origin on your yarn craft, on your balls of yarn. There's a pretty high chance that even if you are shopping at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or a local independent store, it's not going to say made in the USA. There's a pretty good chance that yarns come from somewhere else. But even if you are lucky enough to find a yarn that says made in the USA, and I really hope you find some, but if you think the prices on that yarn are going to stay the same as what they are now, you need to just have a little sit down and grab a cup of tea for a second. Because while it's made in the USA, what is it made out of? Where did those individual components come from? If you've found a fantastic dyer in the USA who uses only locally spun American wool, awesome. Where is their dye coming from? What kind of dye are they using? What are the ingredients of those dyes? The supply chain issue is bigger than a ball of yarn. It's actually smaller than a ball of yarn. It's smaller. It could be all the little components that make the ball of yarn. And the same goes for fabric and sewing and patchworking and clothes making and like anything, paper crafting, anything. You may find supplies that have got the stamp of made in Australia or made in the USA or made in whatever country. And you may be like, well, I'm going to buy this one. It could 100% be a 100% American company. But where is its supplies coming from? Those of you here, let me know in the chat, what are your feelings about ChiaoGoo? Do you love ChiaoGoo? I love ChiaoGoo knitting needles and supplies. Absolutely love them. The distributor is in the USA, right? But they get them from their sister company in China. Okay, so this is where you've got to think about it. So while, yes, the distributor is in the USA and every dealer around the world has to purchase it from that distributor. Do you mind? Excuse me. I'm talking about very serious things here. I think Louis just wants to be on camera. Oh, I zoomed in on him and then I did not move him. There we go. He's had a haircut, everybody. He's had a little haircut. Anyway, there you go, Louis. You've had your 5 minutes. So what is it, like, where's up to? Come back here. Louis, just because the neighbour's dogs bark. So you've got all these different things that you're making your crafts out of. But you've got to, sorry, I've just realised my phone's not on mute and I shall fix that. That was my fault. I thought I was all with it today. I had tea, I've got all my talking points. For some reason, I can't work out how to mute a phone. There we go. It took me about 27 years. Having Louis bark made me lose my train of thought. So we've got all of these. ChiaoGoo, that's what I was talking about. ChiaoGoo knitting needles, prime example. We absolutely love them. Their distributor is in the USA. It is in Detroit, somewhere around there. And so a lot of companies in the USA are like, well, I'm just going to buy from the American distributor. That's awesome. And you are supporting American jobs because there are people who work in that warehouse to make that happen. But those come from China. So they're going to hit the China tariff. All right. So those prices are going to go up. And so therefore, ChiaoGoo, and now I'm just making assumptions here. I haven't heard anything from ChiaoGoo, but I'm just using them as an example. That their import costs are going to go up. So they're going to need to pass that cost on. They're not just going to go, okay, American companies will need to pay this much and everywhere else will need to pay this much. No, all of their stock is distributed from the USA. So everyone who gets ChiaoGoo knitting needles, and I'm sure this is not the only brand that this happens with, they're going to have to pay this additional charge as it gets into the USA, and the prices are going to go up across the board, across the world. So people who are like, oh, well, sucks to be American. Do you know what? Sucks to be a crafter right now. Because those of us, unless you have an exceptional stash, which, let's be honest, there's probably a few of us who could tick that box, and all of the tools that you need there's a good chance this is going to impact you in some way, no matter where you are in the world. So I just really wanted to get that out there this morning because it's been something that's been really playing on my heart. And I'm sorry if it's a bit of a Debbie Downer way to start the stream. So let me know in the chat, like, are you still here? It is a little bit of an unusual way to start the stream, but I really just wanted to get it out there. This is going to be an issue for every crafter around the world. Companies aren't just going to put the prices up in one country, especially if their distribution is from that country. And in the long run, other countries will start shipping back to the US as well once they get their head around how it's all got to work. But the prices are going to go up. And they're going to go up a lot, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to, as Bianca says, this is a horrible situation for everyone. That's right. I agree, Bianca. 100%. It is. And, oh, yeah. And not just for crafters as well, but I'm just talking at it from the crafting sphere because this is going to affect so many things. And so if we look at these things with a broader picture and understand where our produce and where, well, not our produce, but where our, also understand where your produce comes from. But if you understand where your supplies actually come from, like from the start, not just where you buy them from, then you're going to have an easier time of this. But right now, there's a lot of companies like stores and stuff like that who are currently able to keep their prices where they are for now. But the second they've sold them and they have to restock them, they're either A, not going to be able to get the new stock, or B, that stock's going to go up a lot. So you will just need to be really aware of what you're buying. Make sure that you're seeing the end price before you click buy. Double check if it includes any additional costs or fees. I know when people buy from my website, and I have to order it in, so say it's a Margicraft spinning wheel, I don't include the additional costs of the Australian customs fee, because that'll change on a day-to-day basis, so I can't do that. But I warn people, I tell them it's going to be approximately this percent, and the bill will come directly to you, and they will not release that parcel until you've paid that bill. And so I let people know. But for the majority of people, it's going to be very interesting times coming ahead. Let's have a look in the chat here because I have ignored it a little bit today. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm jumping in. Bianca jumped in first with a hello to everybody. Hey, Bianca, great to see you. Knitspin Girls is here as well. Mel has made it. She remembered it's Thursday. Well, it's Thursday in Australia. Teresa is here as well. So good to see you, Teresa. Talia's jumped in as well. So, and Chantelle is here. It's so good to see you. So good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. This is Talia's got great questions. Where is the fibre scoured? In Australia, there is no commercial scale scourers. So, and I know that in the US, they do a lot of offshore scouring as well. I do believe there are some scours left in the USA, but I don't know exactly to what extent. Yeah, what ingredients make up the dyes? Absolutely. Teresa has said so many small businesses will be going out of business. Yes. And a lot of it's going to be coming down to their inability to get supplies at a price that people's willing to get their supplies at prices that people are willing to pay, because there is cost of living pressures across the board, right? And it's like, oh yeah, you know, yarn's going to go up from $3 to $5 a ball, whatever, I'll pay it. It's like, that's cool, but so did your milk, so did your food, so did your rent, so did your, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be this big thing. It's going to be awful. Oh, that's exactly right. Talia says, if one of the machines that are used to produce any of this stuff breaks down, where do the parts come from? Where do the consumables for those machines come from? I was thinking about how fabric printing is done. Actually, it was because of Game Widows. I know that she gets some of her fabrics imported. And fabric printing is done. So there's companies that will, you know, that do these short run or custom prints of fabric. And they're in the USA, and they do have their stocks, and they have everything else. And they have all of these sorts of, you know, they have their bolts of fabric, they have all their dyes, they have their machinery, they make the beautiful things. Where does their bolts of fabric come from? What countries are they coming in? So that price is going to go up. Where are the dyes coming from? Are they locally made from locally produced things? Those prices are going to go up. So yeah, it's a really interesting situation, and for a lot of the small businesses that have relied on this, the de minimis, or is it called de minimis, something like that, the $800 fee. A lot of people have relied upon that to get things into the country, especially smaller businesses. So it's just this big mix of like everything all happening at once, and it's just really causing a really big scare for a lot of people. Betty says, yes. And welcome, Betty. Prices will go up. I admit to having a stash of not just yarn. Yeah, I have a stash of a few different things. I'll be honest. I've got my fabric stash, which I will say is a lot more modest, but I also have a pretty extensive fiber stash for spinning yarns, and also for yarn for making stuff. So. Handmade Haven, great to see you in the chat. I wonder if any of those companies who distribute from the US will consider setting up distribution from another country. Look, I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure they're probably considering it, but whether or not they can do it is another question. So that's a big question, and I don't have the answer to that. But I think it would be. I think it will be an issue there. Russell's jumping in. He missed the start. Tell me again, what is the event in causing this alarm? So Russell, I've been trawling. I'm gonna just jump through it again because there's a few extra people. I've been trawling through a lot of the craft groups online, a lot of the small indie dyer and small local businesses that buy their supplies overseas are being impacted by the de minimis, which is that 800 thing, which I know doesn't affect everybody. But a lot of companies try to keep their orders, international orders, under that level so they don't have to pass it on. But compounding on top of that is all the additional tariffs that are being added. So there's a big thing in the crafting community, and I want to be clear on this. We are talking crafting community. There's a big thing in the crafting community where people ask the questions like, how much is this going to go up by? And then somebody invariably comes back with just buy American. And it's just like, that's cool. What crafting supplies are actually made in America? And that's what we're discussing here. Because when you look into the details of crafting supplies, well, yes, you can absolutely go to an American store to buy your American yarns or to buy your yarn. Is that yarn actually processed or made in America? Unlikely, very unlikely, as a matter of fact. Let's have a look here. Isn't it like a huge amount of the world's wool comes from Australia? No, I don't think it does. I do think that we have a good export of merino. I'm not sure if it does. In the scheme of worldwide trade, I believe Australia's merino export is fairly small. And this is the thing, if you are a spinner, right? Like as in a person who spins your own wool, and you have a wheel that you don't need to buy anything external to repair. So I don't know about manufacturing of oils and stuff in the USA. I'm assuming someone manufactures oils. So as long as you can keep your machine lubricated, unless it's a Marge Craft in which you just need your drive bands, which have got to come out of New Zealand. Those things are about the only way. I mean, and even then it's not guaranteed, because it's like, what does the farmer use to keep the farm good? But you can get your locally sourced sheep's fleece, which may also go up in price. So, this is the thing. The Game Widow says, I'm going to be stopping shipping to the US. No point for the size of orders that I get. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, I was reading an article that Etsy honestly expects everyone to wear these costs, because Etsy wants to be able to offer everyone free shipping. Like, so they really push accounts that have free shipping, and they're just like, just to put it in the price, just add it in the price. Of course, Etsy want you to do that because they take a percentage of that price. But the problem being that it's still really grey on how much it's going to be. So a lot of these small players, and even Australia Post, not a small player, it's taking them time to work out exactly how they're going to sort out this shipping to the USA. So it is not a small issue. It is a large issue. Oh, here we go. Talia's coming in with the stats. Australia produces around 25% of the world's greasy wool and 90% of the world's wool, which is under 19 microns. Good to know. I thought it was actually less. Like I knew we had about a quarter for the whole lot, but that includes so many. Like greasy wool incorporates so many levels of wool, and just to put that into sort of this 90% of the world under 19 microns. If you have a look at the majority, the yarn, the 100% wool balls that you buy in your yarn store, even in Australia, sometimes they considered fine wool if they're under 22 microns. So that's still great. 19 microns is sweet. It is I think 18 microns is the ultra fine. Is that right? Or is it super fine is 18, then 14 is ultra fine? Someone will tell me. I always get those numbers a little bit mixed up. Scully Pop, so good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Russell's saying here, so yes, it seems like it affects goods coming from Australia to the US, but it's also a tariff on Australian imports. But is it also a tariff on Australian imports? As in, I'm sorry, Russell, I'm a little confused. Do you mean that like us getting stuff in Australia? Because what I was saying earlier is that a company like one of our knitting needle companies, which is probably a decent description of everybody else, a company that sells knitting needles, if they technically distribute them from the USA, because there's not a lot of places that actually make the knitting needles, they have to import those to the USA, but their distribution centers in the USA. They're going to bump their pricing up for everybody, not just for Americans, because they've had to bring it all in. So they've had to pay for it across the board. So when Australians or Brits or wherever else in the world buys those knitting needles, they're going to be paying a higher rate because of an increased tariff going into the USA where their distribution center was. So, and as I think was it Talia who asked, maybe, no, it wasn't Talia, it was someone else. Maybe having distribution centers outside of the US might help. That would be amazing. You guys are amazing with these wool facts here. Australia is second to China for wool production. For some reason, maybe it's cotton I've got in my head, because everyone thinks Australia's like got massive amounts of cotton, but it just doesn't, not compared to the rest of the world. I might have had the cotton and wool stats mixed up in my brain. But this is amazing. But like, put this into perspective. Australia is second only to China in the world for wool production, right? But we have no large-scale wool scours here. We have to send it all to China or to New Zealand or wherever, other countries. We can't scour our own wool here. So even Bendigo Woolen Mills, who says, everything's Australian wool, it is Australian wool, but the Australian wool has been on a little trip to another country before it comes and gets its final balling up and shipping out to Australian shoppers. So I think that's a really interesting one. Oh yeah, it's a little bit of a PVA kind of catch up. So Primal Video Accelerator Program members and ex-members hanging out in the chat. So that is cool. That is cool. The matching t-shirts. Wasn't that always called? Russell, I do have a question about that. Did you keep your camera off, see which shirt Justin was wearing, and then run and put a shirt on that matched just for giggles? I don't know. Like, I'd love to know the answer to that. Totally not related to it. Yeah, we do. We export the scour to get around our environmental restrictions. Yes, we do. And costs, absolutely. Russell says, okay, so this affects goods that are made outside of the USA, not obtainable from their origin country, and then distributed exclusively by USA to Australia. Not just to Australia, but to everywhere in the world. And Russell, the crafting industry, that happens a lot. A lot of companies in the USA that are American companies don't make their products, or their products aren't made from a 100% American produce or end, like there's processing or elements of it that aren't made in America. That's all going to be adding into the cost. And a lot of them are distributed from the USA. So there's a lot of small stores trying to buy craft supplies that are just like, we don't know how much it's going to cost, so they're just not getting stock in. So this is like there's two issues we're talking about here. There is the issue of the actual cost of stock for end users, so the cost of stock for individuals buying their goodies. But there's also the issue of local American stores actually just not being able to restock at a reasonable, at all at the moment, or at a reasonable price going forward when they're buying things from outside of the US. So yeah. A magician never reveals his magic. Oh, Russell, I wanted to know that. Sarah says, welcome, Sarah. So good to see you. I've come to the adventures of trying to buy craft supplies because, yes, it is an adventure right now, grumbles in Canadian. It's not just you, honey. It's not just Canada. It's not just the USA. It's not just Australia. Everyone's struggling with craft supplies at the moment. If you find a store that has some, buy them now. But only buy what you like, obviously, but buy what you need and keep it aside. Those of us with stashes, everyone paid out on stashes. Oh, your stash is ridiculous. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I won't need to buy anything for a little bit so I can have a little break. Also, hello. This is now my dinner conversation. It's good to see you. So yeah, I just wanted to have a bit of a talk about it because I'm seeing a lot of people in these Facebook groups and chats that are just coming in when somebody's asking a legitimate question about, do we know how much these tariffs and costs are going to be? Because the answer is no, we don't. And rather than say, no, we don't, or we don't know what's going on, or we're not sure what's going on, people are responding back with just buy American. And that's not an answer. So because you can go to an American craft store, say Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and you look around and you try and find an American, 100% made American piece of produce. Why do I keep calling it produce? I don't know. Stuff, and you very likely won't find something, or very minimal. Sarah says, yeah, many shops are no longer, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were discussing that as well. There's lots of countries that are also navigating that at the moment. Russell says, but an American distributor, presumably large companies, can surely place orders for most things of more than 800. No, but this is the thing, Russell. They absolutely can. That's why I'm saying there's two issues here. There's the de minimis issue for those people that were purchasing their own stuff. So either small stores or individuals purchasing their own things. So that's gone. And then when they're told just buy from America, the problem being the American distributors of stores, which absolutely spend way more than $800. Absolutely. But they're paying hefty tariffs and fees on what they're bringing in. And those costs also have to go up. So the people are being hit from both sides. So they can't get it themselves at the prices they were used to. And they also can't buy it from American stores at prices that they were used to. There's two things going on at the same time affecting crafters. They're two totally different things, but they both affect the end crafter. Yeah, so until Australia, you're right. We're going to notice less of it here in Australia because we do get more of our stuff from other countries and we don't have those charges coming in. Also, in Australia, we have our own kind of, I don't know what we call it here. It's not de minimis, but that idea where if you bring in something under 1,000 Australian dollars, which probably is about 800 US right now, we currently still have that. So if you as an individual want to buy something in, you can still get it in under that and not incur GST and customs. So we have that. So, currently, I just want to say currently. So we're all right in that regard, but, and because we don't add additional costs to China, India, or Turkey, like Turkey's a big place to get yarn from, honestly. If you have a look at most yarn balls, there's a lot of stuff coming out of Turkey. So, but yeah, this is the issue. It's not just the de minimis. That's one issue. That's one issue that's affecting Um, People who buy their yarn from the UK or something like there's like if you're a yarn crafter, you know the Wool Warehouse does amazing kits of yarns for projects, and you can just buy the kit. Thanks very much. You don't have to think about colors, nothing. Well, if you're in the US, currently Wool Warehouse are not shipping to the USA, so you can't use that. So there's that side of it. But then there is also the side where these larger companies that import either components or the whole items into their distribution centers to ship them around the world, those prices are also going to go up. So there's two things that are hitting people at the same time. It is, I don't believe it's a sky is falling thing. I think this is really affecting people in real time. I'm chatting with local small businesses or independent yarn stores in the UK. I've got a couple of friends who own a few around the place, and they're really noticing it. But what are we talking 10%? See, this is the problem. It's not a straight 10%. In Australia, 10%, we know it. Coming in, if you spend over $1,000, it's 10% GST plus 5% customs. Right now, it is unknown because it's going to depend on which country the different components are going from. So people are getting these bills later. And I had one friend, she's ordered it in like a pile of stock. She got it in. She went over the 800 because that's what she does. She buys in larger quantities. She had the stock, was selling it, blah, 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 then got the bill later, and she needed to increase the price by 25% on all of that stock to cover this additional, I don't know what it's called. We'd call it a customs bill here, but in Australia, you don't get the box until the customs is paid. So you know straight away how much it's costing. So there's a few different things happening, and it's not 5%. It's not 10%. You know, like it is all different depending on the countries that it's coming from. So it's a mess is what it is. It's just a mess. And as I said at the start, it's not permanent, but people need to be aware that the whole just buy American line is not going to work when it comes to crafting, because there's not that many crafting supplies 100% made from 100% American products. Sarah Dawn says, at least here you can't even get US yarn lines right now. The yarn shops are saying that this is the stock we have. Yeah, I'm not sure because I have a lot of supplies. I haven't tried to buy anything recently. And in all fairness, I don't tend to buy a lot of US yarns. Just because the US dollar and Australian dollar isn't friends. It's not anything aside from financial. But I just I think that like with the Canada US thing, I think it's more going on. I think there's more going on. And I don't want to get into the politics of it, but there's more going on. Well, and that's the thing. There is also an additional processing fee on top of the tariff charges, which keeps changing. Every article I read, it's a different amount. So, you know, if Australia Post are struggling with working it out, these are pretty cluey people that want your money, so they want to be shipping this stuff out. If they're struggling a little bit, then, you know, but as I said right at the start, this is short term. When it comes to like these other countries not shipping into the USA at all at the moment, because I'm not sure if you realize that, Russell, there's actually quite a long list of countries that just are not shipping to the USA at all. So like Australia Post, UK Post, Denmark Post, like a pile of different countries are just currently not shipping, just because they want to do the right thing and make sure that they're following the guidelines that that America has currently set for imports into the country. But it's just a bit grey, and they're trying to work it all out. So they're bringing on board people to help out. Anyway, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And that side of it will get sorted out. And that'll just take a little bit of time. That side of it will 100% get sorted out. And when it comes to everything else, it's just going to come down to the fact that people will have to adjust to eating some extra costs. And we all know that there are people in the crafting world who are very, very frugal when it comes to their crafting supplies, and who get very vocal when those frugal crafting supply prices change. I really hope I put that very delicately. um, yeah, Canada's post solution was to go third party, but the service fee is stupid expensive. I've been hearing things like 80 Australian dollars for like a service fee. And that's what they weren't going to go with. Like, if you go with, I think it's like DHL or FedEx or something. I can't remember. Like, they already had a service fee, and I don't know what it was as to what it is now. So I don't think it's like here's $80 all at once. I think it's crept up to the 80. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't, because I also know that some people have no choice. That they have to be frugal crafters or they don't get to craft. And so I get that as well. So, but it's very interesting. Yeah, Russell, like in Australia, we've, well, I can tell you right now, there were people who would not buy from outside of Europe because they were going to have to pay the extra costs. I know that is absolutely a true fact of some of them, but they also have phenomenal options in the EU for options for yarn. They didn't give up crafting, but that's not actually the whole point of today's chat. So, it is. Sarah says it's an $80 service fee to wrangle customs now. So yeah, so if you've got a $40 parcel of yarn on your way, and then you're told it's going to be an $80 service fee plus your tariffs, you're kind of sitting there looking at your $40 parcel, because that $80 service fee, I don't know what the case is in Canada, but in Australia, it doesn't matter how big or how, the cost. It's not a percentage. You'd say that's a service fee, and that is the amount of the fee. Yeah, and Sarah says the de minimis here in Canada was $20 for ages, and people would grumble and pay it. And that's the thing, people are adjusting to that. But at the same time, they're having to adjust to this other thing as well, and it's a big hit for a lot of craft stores. And unlike other industries, craft stores, smaller craft stores run on much smaller margins. Yeah, it's for any parcel. So yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. They do. They need to adjust to it, and it will suck. And in Australia, they talked about getting rid of it a few years back, and they just realised the actual effort that it would cost the government to make it so that all these parcels had to come in. But the issue that's happening in the US is more than just this. This is just another pile on the top. It's a little pile, but it might be the straw. I don't know if it's the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's definitely a straw. So it's all of these different things being piled on and piled on and piled on. And then also, by the way, you can't actually save your extra money just by shipping outside of like buying a yarn outside of the US now. You'll have to buy it from here because A, a lot of countries won't ship to you, and B, you're going to have to pay this additional fee. So you're either going to have to buy it big to make it worth it, or don't. And you're right, people are going to have to adjust to that one. That's one that they have to adjust to. There's others that are temporary pains, and that's what I said right at the start. This is temporary pain, but for when it comes to the shipping and stuff like that. But it's going to be permanent price increases. So that's my point. People need to adjust that they're going to have to pay more for their crafting supplies. That's the whole point. It's not going to. Oh, Louis is gone. We don't even need Louis Cam anymore. Louis left. Louis left us. Anyway, let's do some craft, everybody. I got some craft in my lap. Also I have coffee and tea. I get there. I've got my Yetis. Got my 2 Yetis going today. Now, I'm currently still working on my Pride sweater. It's coming along. Let's see if I can zoom out a little. Zooming. Where's my zooming function? Thank you. Zooming out. So it's coming along. So I have paused working on the length because I'm just about where I think I want it. Okay. But let me know in the chat if you've cast off the end, then done your sleeves and realized when you lifted your arms up, I don't want that, right? So I've come over and I'm started on the sleeves. It's a little bit twisty twist. So I'm currently working on my first sleeve. I know that there's people out there that do 2 sleeves at a time because, they're awesome. I'm not one of them awesome people. I like one. I like one sleeve at a time. Because then if I botch it, I only have to pull one back and then the next one I can do right to start with. But you do you, boo. You do you. So I'm up to the sleeve here. I'm really happy with it so far. I had a little try on. I was a little concerned. I don't know if you can see this here. Because I'm ridiculously picky, all right? Like we've got beautiful stripes, beautiful stripes, beautiful stripes. And then something went a bit janky here. Now this is about where I joined on the new yarn in this blue here. So I thought, oh yeah, no problems. We're just going to be the blue and then we're going to go to the dark and then blah, 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 you know. But no, there was something janky further down the ball and we got a little bit of brown in there. Not a lot, but enough that it's, you know, like it's around sort of half of the sleeve. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I left it there. It may bug me down the line. It's not going to stop me from wearing it. And I was also worried about, you know, like this section was this wide and now this section is this wide because, you know, there's a lot less stitches in a sleeve than there is in the body. I would hope. Doesn't feel like it sometimes. All right, let's have a quick look here at this. Sarah says, I'm really hoping that some of what's going on in the US politics means that some of these tariffs will be lifted. We shall see. It's just a waiting game. It is. It's just a waiting game. I have tea. And I'm drinking my souvenir tea. Oh, that is cool. Russell says, well, my groceries, which I have little choice about, have gone up 30% or more. Oof, that hurts. And no one seemed too concerned as it happened under the previous administration. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the politics of that, but that seems a lot. Australian groceries just keep going up. And the boxes get smaller and they're just sneaky. They don't say anything. And you're like, oh, yeah, we've kept the same price of this thing for ages, but actually it's crept down in size. It's annoying. I hate it. But yeah. Sarah says, I tried 2 socks at a time and it resulted in tears and swearing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Look, I love the idea of 2 at a time socks and I start them every now and again and then I give up on them and I separate them back out again. And I might work on, like, I'll be doing 2 at a time, but I want them on their own separate needles so I don't accidentally grab the wrong yarn. I'm terrible like that. Russell says, oh, I do like those colors. They are rather fall-like to my eye. Being from Florida these days, I like the summer ones. Yeah, it's kind of like, these are definitely sort of your autumny tones, but these are definitely sort of more, it makes me think beachy, you know, like the sand and the water. So, you know, it is, you know, I'm getting beachy vibes out of it rather than autumn vibes. But you're right, these are definitely autumn tones here. I don't know about there being any blues in autumn tones, but I think, or autumn colors, I should say, but I think tonally they all work together. But in saying that, I've got no control over those because this is my yarn and it comes pre-done. So from Turkey, I also want to point out, this was made in Turkey, in a turkey mill. Sorry, small things. Let's have a look here. Oh, yes. Oh, you have a chai from my local lady. That is amazing. So and Tell and Emma. Emma, the Game Widows, you guys are both in Melbourne. You may have the same tea lady. I'm just saying. I mean, there's probably more than one tea shop in Melbourne. Yeah, smaller boxes here as well. Yeah, it's frustrating. You're like, I swear this used to last longer. And the answer is yes, it did. It's not in your mind. It did used to last longer. If anyone visits Ottawa or Canada, there's a wonderful little tea shop in Bywood Market. They have so many fun types of tea, including maple tea. That sounds interesting. I'd like to try that. I don't add any sweeteners. I don't add sugar to my tea or coffee, but I would try a maple tea. I've only had real proper maple syrup a couple of times because it's really expensive here in Australia. Shrinkflation, yes. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, on special 2 for $8. I nearly had a heart attack. I was buying some sidetrack, like welcome to a chat with Chantelle. I was buying some Tim Tams for to ship to some friends in the USA. And I'm thinking $2.50 a packet because it's kind of like the price I was usually thinking of was how much they were. I've walked in and I've just stood there and I've rung them and I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And they're like, doesn't matter, just send us to 10 packets anyway. So I was just like, okay, so I did that because they were paying for it. Yeah, I agree. That is not on special. That is not on special. Teresa said, I was going to say the colours remind me of the beach. Yeah, it feels beachy to me. And it's made out, this is a linen cotton viscose blend, and I've gone with a 4 mil needle on it just to sort of give it a little bit of openness. Just sort of, it's not too open, but it's open enough to, let some air through. Sarah says, now I feel like I have to send you proper dark maple syrup. It's amazing in coffee, though I like my coffee sweet. As I said, I'm willing to try these things. Like, I will drink a caramel latte every now and again. That is sickly sweet, but I will be like, yum. But not very often. It's a treat. Whereas my normal long black with milk and no sugar, that's my standard. Here we go. I did a craft show last weekend. The coffee was the same price it's been for years, but this year the takeaway cup was half the size. Oh my gosh. Russell says here, my favorite dessert is carrot cake. I do love a good carrot cake. And my local store sold a great 3-layer version. A few months ago, it shrunk 10% size and it was only 2 layers. Oh my gosh. Really? Like, it's not even just like that, but it's also that. That's a lot. And for the same money, I'd be very sad. I would have been very disappointed. I'd be like, dude, you forgot a layer. You forgot it. Like, you put it in a smaller tin. Cool. I understand that. But also, you forgot a whole layer. Oh my gosh. Good morning, Sally. So good to see you. Happy 46 months to you as well. Oh, same price. I would feel so gypped, honestly. I would feel so gypped. Now, I'm just opening up. I thought I had it open, but I do not. Knit Companion. There we go. Knit Companion is on. So I'm using Knit Companion here. I don't know if I can share this on screen. Let's just see if I can. I mean, I didn't set it up, so let's see what we can do. I know I did it on Monday for something. Let me just see if I can. Is it that one? I mean, it wants that camera. Oh, no, it's not showing what's on screen. It's showing. Well, that's annoying. Okay, no. Alrighty then. No, all right, that's not going to work. So let me go back to where I'm used to. There we go. Okay, so there's a way to do it, and if I was clever, I would have already done it. I would do it. Let me just look. I had one. I had it so I could show people what was actually on the screen. Anyway, I'm not going to dig around for it. Technology says no. Look, and it's me. It's me because I didn't prepare it. I wasn't going to show it, and then I'm like, oh, I should totally show that. Let's see if I can do this, but instead of that screen share, cancel. That's doing something else. No. No, it's not being kind. I'm in the wrong thing. Which day am I on? That is not my usual. Oh yes, well, it's not my usual, but it's in the right area. I've got way too many scenes set up, honestly. I really need to go in and clean it up. But anyway, so I've got the free. I just used the free version of Knit Companion. Installed in my app. I'm just going to unplug it because so you can have a look. I've got the pattern in there, and I'm able to track my repeats. So fingers are crossed that I don't, mess it up, because there's a good chance I will. All right, like, let's be honest. I'm not made a lot of garments. I'm a little bit nervous about it. not knitted garments. I've made plenty of crochet ones, but not many knitted garments. And certainly not hugely successful. Russell says, I just finished a 2-hour plus call with James Wedmore. This is relaxing. Oh, well, that is good. I'm glad you're here for relaxation. I'm just going to zoom this back in just a little, back to where it was. There we go. I don't want to have the pattern on screen for you guys. No offense or anything, but I don't have approval from the designer. And we know how I feel about sharing designs without permission. Admittedly, actually, there's nothing in there that could really give anything too dramatic away. Not a productivity stream, but getting things done. Sometimes that's the win, right? The win of just getting stuff done. There we go. So what are you all working on? Let me know in the chat. We're all going to be crafting at the same time, I'm assuming, except for maybe Russell. Russell may not be crafting, but he could be, or he could be baking, because I've been seeing some baking photos of pineapple cakes and all sorts of things. So I could just be assuming wrong. Sarah says, if you've made crochet sweaters, knit sweaters are basically the same construction, so you should be fine. It's not so much that side of it. It's more just that if I mess it up and it's a crochet sweater, you just frog it back, right? You're like, blah, 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 fix, let's go. When I have to frog back knitted sweaters, I'm always a bit stressed out. And I think it's just it's a mental game for me. It's in my own head. I get that. But I'm always a bit like, oh, I don't want to stuff it up because then I'll have to frog it. No, what a nightmare. And, you know, if I was truly that concerned about it, I probably would be using a lifeline. And I probably should have put one in when I joined the sleeve on. Didn't do that. Could totally go back and do it. Not gonna. You know, lifelines are our friends in more than just lace, honestly. This was lace. There would 100% be a lifeline. Let me tell you that right now. I feel way better working with a lifeline when it comes to lace. Oh, I missed something there. Someone's telling me what they're working on and I missed it. Chantelle says, I'm about to start a jacket, but I just finished a dress for a friend. Nice work. I've put the sweater aside to eat dinner. Dinner is pork chops and roast potatoes with peppers and broccoli. That sounds very good. That sounds very good. Talia is ticking stuff off. Washing is done. Dishes are done. Folding is happening. That is awesome. Sally's working on her morning mocha. Oh, I sent you a photo on Insta of my dress if you want to share. Let me have a look. Instagram. Let me look. What am I logged in as? Oh, I don't think I'm logged in on the right account on here. More, log out. And then log in. So the right password, you bud. Oh, I think that's why it didn't log out. Ugh, so annoying. I'll have to do it on my phone. I'll just have to show you like this. Messages. Oh my gosh, that is such the cutest little dress. Look at that. Laura Keats. That is so nice. Love that. That's adorable. I'm assuming that's for a small person based on, you know, your hand. Dolores is currently knitting a pair of socks as a gift. However, I'm holding the yarn double, pulling from the outside and the inside, and the yarn is completely tangled, an absolute mess. Oh no. Oh no. Nope. That's a hard no for me. If I've got to, oh That's no. I'm so sorry that's happening, Dolores. Yes, it would be very frustrating. My latest baking success is peach and walnut bread. Folks in the community want me to start selling it. Would you consider doing that, or do you think it might steal your joy from it? I don't know. It's your call. But I used to make jam, and I used to make a lot of jam, and it was so fun. And it was doubly fun being able to sell it because I got to have the fun of making all of the jam. And like I like, it's probably a bit different than with bread, but with jam, you don't normally just make a single jar at a time. You got to make like a batch. And so, you'd make like this batch of jam and you really only wanted one jar. So being able to sell off the rest of it was really good. So I got to have some really fun and exciting jams, and not have to keep it all. Still had ridiculous amounts of jam. um, that was one of the things that defeated me with the 2 at a time socks. I was working from the same ball. It completely tangled. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, my neighbor, I think, is a size 1 or 2. Oh, um, you're reminding me, I have leftover strawberry and rhubarb crumble in the fridge. I haven't had rhubarb crumble in so long. It's not, rhubarb's not super easy to get your hands on here. It is possible. It is possible. Just not super easy. We're a bit warm for rhubarb. Game Widow says she's made a mandarin and blood orange marmalade this week. Plans for this year's chutney is in the works. I could sell it, but after my... Yeah, good point. Good point. Oh, on a more serious note, I may attempt to try and crochet a small project today to see if my thumb and wrist and shoulder can handle it. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle and take breaks. Oh, I'm so excited that you're ready to give it a try, though. I really am. Um, I have 2 people giving me rhubarb. I am happy with this. Absolutely. And it is. And I agree with you. It is fun to give it to friends, but my friends are a bit sick of seeing it. So finding somewhere to get rid of it was also fun. And I made more friends. I mean, they were friends who just were my friends because of jam, and I knew that going in. They just loved me for my jam. But I knew that going in, so that was okay. Not blind on that one. Not blind at all. But yeah. So I am absolutely like, I'm at a point. Do you guys ever get to a point with a project where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to get this done now? Like it sat unworked on. I got to spin it the other way. I'm a bit twisted up. It sat sort of not being worked on for a couple of weeks while I was working on some other things. And then I picked it back up. I took it with me to Caffeinated Crafters last Saturday. No, it was a Zoom call with the Zoomy girls on Friday night that started it. And I'd been sort of just doing a couple of rows here and a couple of rows there on the body. And I was a bit like, yeah. And then I tried it on in the Zoom call and they're like, I think you're nearly done on that body length. And I was like, no way, no. And so I took it with me to craft group the next day where some of those girls were. And we did the measurements and yeah, I was only like I think we worked out to be about a couple of centimeters off being done in the length, like so maybe an inch off from being completed in the bottom. And I was just like, oh my God, are you kidding? Oh my gosh. So I worked on it for a little bit to get that inch done at craft group that day and then measured it and put it down. And then when I got home, I connected on and started the sleeve. And now I'm like, quick, do the sleeves. Get it finished. Oh my gosh, I want to wear this. Quick. Knit faster. Don't work on any other projects. You can only work on this one. We've got to knit the sleeves really fast. Go faster. Oh, I just realized I did not. I forgot to hit the thing that I'd gotten past my little duty. Quick. Do it faster. And now I'm like in this phase of like frenetic. oh no, I have to do work. Work is in the way. I must knit this. It's like, oh, can I do the work thing and do this at the same time? No. Oh, damn it. Work. Grr. But yeah, it's, but at night now, I'm like not working. I'm actually making myself stop working too late so that I can save some knitting time when my eyes are clear. And I'm just like, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Let's have a look here. The sweater I have on the needles is a bit of a monster, but it grew quite a bit thanks to 2 5-hour train rides. Oh my gosh, it would. It would. A pair of my kids' former teachers are on my marmalade list. They look forward to it and return the jars. One does a happy dance. The other dates it with a spoon and returns extra jars. They are jam worthy. And that's the thing, right? We've got to work out who are jam worthy and knit worthy and crochet worthy and sew worthy. We all have time to make these things, but you still want what you make appreciated. Yeah, exactly, Enigmata. People who return the jars, definitely jam worthy. They understand. They know what's going on. Excuse me. I think I should have a drink. I think it's time to hydrate. My brother shows up and raids my jam stash. I mean, like anyone else in the chat here who's just a bit jealous that she has a jam stash? I don't have a jam stash. I've just got like some jam in the fridge. I don't even have any spares in the cupboard. It's just like the jam that I have is the jam that I have. Now I want a jam stash. Man, I'll have to make some jam. The one that I remember the most, there's two. There's two that I remember the most, but one is the best jam that I've ever made for myself, and it was kiwi fruit and apple. And it looks stunning. Ah, thank you. I'll drink some tea to that. Tea is hot. Tea is hot. Tea is way hotter than the coffee. I'll let that not over next to the roadcaster. I'll do it over here. Man, can you see the steam coming off this? I think you can just a little bit. So hot compared to my coffee's getting down to room temperature. So it was this kiwi fruit and apple jam that was just my absolute favorite, but my most fun to make is banana jam because it does some stuff. It has a bit of scientific reaction. You chop up your bananas, you put it in, and as it hits temperature with all the rest of the ingredients, so like the lemon and it goes red. The potassium reacts to the citric acid and it goes red, and all of a sudden you've just got this bright red stuff, and it doesn't set thick like jam, or at least mine never did. I mean, it went thicker, but it didn't set the same way. So we would actually use it slightly differently. I mean, it was nice on toast, but I will say it was also amazing on vanilla ice cream. So treated it as like an ice cream topping. But it was so fun to make because every time I never got bored of it. Every time I'd wait for the color change, so I'd get to a certain temperature and I'd be like, boom, now we're red. Like, oh my gosh, science wins. I've done it again. Okay. I need a bigger dangly marker. I keep missing this one. Like, oh, sorry, what's your name? Chantelle. Do you own like 27,000 stitch markers? Yes, you do. Can you find any of them? Oh, look, here we go. That one's attached to a thing. This one's big and dangly and attached to a card from the Sweater Collective. I'll have that. I'm just going to attach it on there so it's annoying. I don't like dangly markers. They bug me. But I also don't like skipping over my stitch marker and it not marking off because I'm keeping track. He's got his camera if he wants to come in. Are you back, Louis? Oh, hang on. There he is. He's back on camera now. He had a haircut and now he's sad. He has got a tiny little tail. He's like, give me the blanket on top of me, Abby. Oh, Abby.
What? It's on top of it.
That's mean.
Oh, I'll take that.
nonna. Louis the nonna. He's got his little blanket over his head like a little nonna. Sarah says my favourite is blackcurrant jam, but that's not a common one here. I don't know if blackcurrant's that common here, to be honest. What was that, Abs? Can you get blackcurrant jam, not blackberry? Oh, okay. Abby reckons we can get it at Woolies. Oh, Nispin Girl loves cherry jam. I don't think I've ever had cherry jam. It sounds amazing. I would eat that. I would eat that. Oh, Nispin Game Widows makes a cherry jam. Oh my gosh. I blame the resident felines when I can't find the stitch markers, even if it's not actually their fault. No, for me, it's not. It's no one's fault but my own, because I've got all these beautiful handmade dangly stitch markers because I can't help myself, and I still buy them because they're adorable. Except I don't like to use them, except for like a beginning of round marker. I don't use them for all the other bits and bobs. Anyway, every now and again I need one, and then they're all somewhere safe. It's over there. I can see them, but it's over there. And so I'm like, do I have something handy? You'll pop some in the post. For me? Or Knit Spin Girls? Because for me, I would like some too. Let me know, and we'll sort it out when you've got some, when you make it. Is it cherry jam season? I don't know if it is cherry season. I don't know what cherry season is. I thought cherry season summer, right? Cherry season summer. I can wait that long. My mouth's watering. Thank you. Yeah, I know when you got to wait till you make it, because there's no cherries around right now. It's not cherry season. Where are we at? We're on row 59. Oh, that way. Next row is decrease row. So the other problem that I'm having, right, is part of the nervousness about these sleeves, is I jiggery pokery the sleeves, because if you've been here before, you know I have an issue, and it comes to all garments, right? I have a body that is a certain size. The arms do not match the measurements of the recommended body. So if a garment is like, has like a certain bust sizing, usually it'll fit everywhere else, right? For some people. Actually, is that true? Does it fit for any people? Because it never fits for me. Anyway, so I needed to add in a ridiculous number of stitches to get the right number of centimeters for around my arms. And so I had to, jiggery pokery it and go up like the top, because it's a circle yoke down top. I wanted to make myself the 2XL. So I actually, up until this point here, which you can't see because it's off the camera. Let me try again. Up to this point here on the sleeve, where I did the split for sleeves, I actually worked a 3XL. So I had more stitches. And then what I did was, when I got to the body, I only had the 2XL stitches in the body. And Lone Wanderer super chat. My heart will always lift when you say jiggery pokery. Thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. I love jiggery pokery. It is my favorite saying. But yeah, so now in the body, which let me just zoom out. This is ridiculous. I need all of it on. There we go. So in the body, I started off with the 3X sizing. Let me just make it so I don't lose any stitches. All right. I started out with the 3X sizing so that I could get the right number of stitches into the tops of the sleeves, right? And then when I got down here to the split for the sleeves, just do what I need you to do, little top. Down here to the split for the sleeves, this body section just has the 2X bodies, and the rest of the stitches are added into the sleeves so that I didn't have to so that it fits better. But then I also added an extra couple of stitches in for the body as it says to do. So I've got I have the correct number here, and I tried it on And if anything, it might be a smidgy dash loose, but I also don't want to judge it just yet because of where it was sitting. It could have been being made loose by the cables. So that's where I'm at with this. So this is the first time I've done the sizing in this way, which is why I'm nervous about it, where I've just made a bigger size to here and then brought it down into the size I wanted here. And it's still oversized. Like, this is the thing, it's supposed to be oversized. So it's still oversized. It's still, everything else is great. Super happy with everything, with how it's fitting, how it's sitting, how it feels when it's on. All of that is super positive. So now back to the knitting. Back to the knitting. Tea acquired. Time to raglans on the sweater. Game Winner says, at retreat there was a cream cheese log thing that has raspberry jam topping. Oh yeah, she does this cream cheese log and rolls it in. The nut changes, but I think it was macadamias this time around, or pistachios, I can't remember. And then has like a raspberry jam drizzled on it as well, and you have it on crackers, and it's amazing. Oh, Leonie spoils us something fierce at retreat, honestly. Where's my yarn going? Where's it going? I would like to have a direct route to the ball. Thanks very much. Oh, it's tangled up. Of course it's tangled up. But Russell was asking earlier if we grow our own cherries. We grow just about all our own fruit and veggies in Australia. We do import some, but most people buy Australian. It's normally those people that want it outside of season. So if you aren't willing to wait for summer and you want cherries, you're buying imports or tins, which are probably imports. Not sure where you're from, but many moons ago I worked at a Park and Save in New Zealand, and the deli manager taught me how to glaze champagne ham with apricot jam and brown sugar. Oh my gosh. That sounds amazing. Molly says, I made cherry jam, only 2 jars left. Gosh. I've got a friend who she had a cherry tree in her yard because she's moved, but she had a cherry tree in her yard and she was able to actually pick and eat so many cherries, and she's just in like outer Melbourne. So, southern Australia, we can't grow cherries up here. We can grow like bit warm. We don't grow much stone fruit up here as far as we grow lots of bananas and mangoes, and there's a vanilla bean farm that started up, which I think is really cool. Lots of sugar cane, lots of like daily veggie produce. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. But not so much in the way of like stone fruits. Definitely, I've seen plenty of avocado farms and mandarin farms. The apples are a bit further south, but like still in Queensland, but like they're like Stanthorpe because it gets cold enough there. But yeah, I don't know. We definitely have strawberries. Abby actually goes and hits a local strawberry farm for all of our strawberry. Oh, hello, giant stitch marker. Right there. Didn't that just jump into my eyes? Boom. Okay, we are on a decrease round. Make sure we do the decrease on both ends, because we may not and forget, and then have too many stitches, and then the next sleeve won't match. That's the song. Do you know the song? That's the song. Got to do the decreases on both ends or your sleeves won't match. Chantelle says, I planted a cherry tree last year. I got 2 cherries. Was ecstatic. Excuse me. When you breathe in and for no apparent reason, you just decide to start coughing. Mayhew jelly is a thing here. I don't know what that is. Mayhaw. I'm betting you have a climate in Queensland that can grow daffodils. I don't know, actually. I've never tried to grow them, but possibly. We're very subtropical. lots of humidity. But there's regions around that can grow like some of the cold, like while there's no massive farms that can grow yeah, breathing.exe error, absolutely. Yeah, while there's not a lot of farms that grow what rhubarb, there's actually some places up on top of Mount Tambourine that grow rhubarb and sell it on the side of the street. Because it's just that little bit of extra altitude and the temperature's just that little bit cooler. Daffodils need to freeze over winter. Okay, so yeah, no, that's probably not so much a Queensland thing, but Melbourne absolutely gets, so they're a bulb. So Melbourne, like Victoria's, that is like where all our bulbs go. Like they're our little frosty boys down there. Oh, there you go. So and Tell actually answered that question. Game Widow says, I'm trying to source quinces. Lots of my neighbours have them, but they don't share. Have you considered growing your own quinces? Do you have spot for a quince tree in your garden? Because they're not too, like a lot of the fruit trees are not that hard to look after if you've just got one or two of them. Because I've got lemons, limes, and mandarins that grow here. We do have a white mulberry tree, but it got a really massive haircut. It was annoying my husband, so he actually gave it this enormous haircut. As in, it was a stump out of the ground, but it's got shoots on it. So I think he may have accidentally given it a second lease on life, which I think is hilarious. And we did have a cherry guava, but I asked for something else next to it to get cut down, and it also got cut down. So, but again, not all the way down. And so I'm seeing some little shoots. So maybe it's okay. I don't know. But it took a little while for it to fruit last time, so hopefully it doesn't take as long to fruit this time. But other than that, that's what we've got. I used to grow a lot more here. Back in the day, I was in the local gardening club, and I would be in the garden every day. And I would grow just about all of our own salad veggies. So lettuces, beetroots, radishes. Have a good day at work. Okay, see ya. Um, let me just think. Lettuces, beetroots, at pumpkins. We had the pumpkin. We had a pumpkin that would actually like grow over a tree, so we would pick pumpkins out of a tree. It was kind of funny. It really confused Abby when she was little. Cucumbers. I failed at capsicums. They would constantly, like, the fruit would grow, but then it would go moldy before it was properly, I think it was just too humid for it. Tomatoes we grew. Snow peas, all the herbs that we could possibly need. Eggplant. Look, we tried growing carrots. I suck at growing carrots. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but we would always have like too much nitrogen, I think, is the issue. Big green grassy tops and then little tiny pathetic jokes of carrots, like baby carrots. They tasted fine, but all the growth was going into the stems rather than into the actual tubers. Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes. I grew a lot of sweet potatoes because with sweet potatoes you can eat the greens as well as the plants, as well as like the tubers. So you could prune it back. Oh, I nearly forgot to do the decrease, even though I sang the song. Decrease it. Alrighty, decrease completed. Boom. I wish we could grow citrus. I'm a huge citrus fan. Though as a kid, we had a peach tree in the backyard, which was awesome. I lived in a rental that had a peach tree, but unfortunately, I didn't understand the law of the peach tree, which was the possums got to eat all the peaches and I got none. And then I would be sad, and I tried putting a thing over it to stop the possums, but the possums were smart and they would just go in and steal the peaches anyway. So I never got to eat any of those peaches, but I did get to eat some of the figs, which that's the house that made me addicted to figs. I blame that house. Um, does much come out of inland Australia? Seems like there are towns, but not much. Look, coal and iron. um, Inland Australia is mostly desert, so not a lot of like produce comes out of inland Australia. I mean, someone in the chat, if you know better, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe like most of the fruit and veg comes from more the outer edges, except for like Victoria, which is not much deserty in the middle. Victoria has a lot more. But up around where I am and like the center of Australia is mostly desert. Um, I was chatting with a friend of mine and we were talking about like the population of Australia and where it's located and stuff. And I googled it because I was just like, oh, look, I'm convinced most of us live on the coastline, and it works out that 85% of Australians live within 50 kilometers of the coast, according to Google. Sarah says we do cherry tomatoes, lettuce, and herbs on our little balcony. We just have to mind the kitties because they will try to eat the plants. I had to fight the hornets for the peaches. Oh, I think I would have given up faster if it was hornets than possums, because the possums just came at night and not while I was there. They would sneak in while I was sleeping, the stinkers. We're pretty populated around the edges. So it's like how much of Canada's population hugs the US border. Yeah, and it's just because of the geography. Like, not many people can live in a desert. Now, not to say it's unused. There's a lot of cattle farming and stuff that is on the edges of the desert and stuff. There's massive cattle stations that it's more inland. Sheep station, cattle stations. But the majority of stuff is on the outer edges of Australia. I was reading a thing that a massive big solar farm has been put in, and like there's a plan for it to be exporting solar energy to Singapore, which I thought was very interesting. Like a 4,300 kilometer run of pipe crossing international waters into the waters of another country and then crossing again. Like there's some big thing. Mum taxi, go for it. Betty says, I stepped out for a minute. I needed a new jumbo plying band for my lendrum. I'm in a fiber club for Paradise Fibers in Washington State, and I'm in California. Loyalty points paid for most of it. Nice work. Well done. God love that. Absolutely. Possums don't fly at you or have pointy stingers. As a matter of fact, if they see you coming, they're more likely to hide. Yeah. But for us, it's the cold, but there's lots of mining and logging. Yeah, for us, it's the heat, but there's still lots of mining, not so much logging. Oh, there we go. Nat says she lives in regional New South Wales and the surrounding towns grow apples and cherries, and we have a strawberry farm locally not far from my parents' home, and there's lots of orchids in Griffith. Orchards, not orchids, sorry. Well, we don't eat possums in Australia. They're a native animal, and we don't eat our native animals usually. Possums in Australia are a protected species. I know Australian possums in New Zealand are not protected, and that it's people's duty to get rid of them because they are destructive over there, because they are the apex predator, which is just crazy to think. But in Australia, I believe they're protected. I don't think we can do anything with them. I could be wrong, but I believe that. I mean, you're right. We do eat heaps of our native animals. I don't eat our native animals. I've tried some of them. Because my dad's heritage, I've gotten to try probably some interesting ones that other people may not have gotten to try. I've had dugong, which is an interesting one to eat. It is like eating lamb. It is weird. It feels so weird knowing that that's come out of the ocean. But yeah, we do. There's kangaroo meat. You're right. We do eat our native animals. You can buy kangaroo products at the supermarket. I don't like it. It's too gamey for me. I don't like the smell of it. It's very high in protein and very lean, and it's very good for you, but I can't get past the smell of it. A yabby. I've never. Do you know what? Hadn't even considered any of the aquatic animals as being native animals. Have you eaten wombat? I've not eaten wombat. I don't think I could eat wombat. I've had emu, crocodile, witchetty grubs, dugong. I'm missing something. Emu, crocodile, dugong, kangaroo. Lots of sea stuff though. I never even considered the sea things, and you're right, they are still native, and I eat them. So yes, yabbies and all those sorts of things. You know what's really weird is I can eat yabbies. Wallaby mince, it's quite nice. I don't know. Yes, possums are protected in Australia. Yeah, I thought they were, but I also know they're definitely not in New Zealand. And they are the Australian possums in New Zealand too. They're just taking out all the flora and the fauna over there. They have some game meats like venison and elk. Specialty places will have them, or just a rural hunter. I've had venison. I'm not the biggest fan. Again, it's a bit too gamey. I've never had elk because I don't think elk's a thing here. I could be wrong. So it might be an elk farm somewhere. But yeah, it's interesting. Why did I never consider all the water like fauna as native animals? Because they totally are. See you later, Russell. Have a good one. Chantelle says, I'm the same. It has to be cooked right for me to eat it because it's really gamey. Yeah, it's too gamey for me. And it's a smell. For me, if food, like especially meat, if it has, like my brain gives it, like it says that it's the wrong spicy is what my brain says it is when I smell it. That's the wrong spicy. That's the wrong kind of spicy. We don't want that. Prawns, yeah, prawns. I can only have prawns if I catch them myself. I'm allergic to the preservatives that they put on prawns. So I'm not actually allergic to prawns themselves, but as you can't buy prawns anywhere that don't have it on there, I just tell people I'm allergic to prawns. But I can eat prawns that I have harvested myself, which is how I know I love prawns. My dad was a trawlerman and he used to bring us home buckets of prawns and we would eat them for days and they were amazing. And then I went shopping when I moved out of home and I was living interstate and I went to the shops and I was craving a prawn sandwich. So I went and bought some prawns and then I got a reaction and I didn't put it down to the prawns straight away. And then a little while later I had another prawn sandwich and I went to the doctor's. Allergic to the prawns, reacted to the prawns. And when I had an allergy test, I wasn't allergic to prawns. But it did turn out it was just add that preservative, the prawns basically dripping in, onto my list. But the easiest way when it comes to eating out is just tell people you're allergic to prawns. Sarah says she doesn't mind the gamey meats. Awesome. I'll never use possum yarn, but fair play for using as much of the animal as you can while protecting your native animals. Yeah, look, and this is how I see it. I wouldn't use Australian produced possum yarn, right? Knowing that Australian possums in Australia are protected. But if I was purchasing possum yarn from New Zealand, I know that they are protecting their native lands from our invasive pests. Sorry about that, New Zealand. I'm sure someone thought, these will be cute. They'll go well over here. And they didn't realize they're basically like bloody, what are those gremlins that ate after dark? You know, they're super cute until you wet them. Don't wet them. Oh, yeah. See, I used to beach fish. I would go fishing off the beaches on Stradbroke Island and catch my own fresh fish. But ocean fish, I've never really had many freshwater fish. And I think it's just because like my whole life we grew up near the ocean, so I, lots of ocean fish, just not a lot of freshwater fish. No reason other than I don't fish in rivers. I like to be able to see the bottom or see in the water as I'm pulling it up. And a lot of our rivers are sort of brown, and you know, it's a no from me. Um, Sarah says I have a shawl made from New Zealand possum yarn, and it's super warm and squishy. It would be. It would be. It'd be amazing. It would be amazing. So, I have to prepare myself for all the naysayers that are going to come into the live chat replay and leave comments about, this thing. We're going to have a whole pile of people. So be prepared, my regular friends. It may be a bit of an onslaught of negativity, or maybe nothing. It could be a total nothing burger. It'll be one or the other. It'll be a nothing burger, or it will be an onslaught of people who basically shut up, you're Australian, what do you care? What do you know? Kind of people. Because they are out there. They're definitely out there, those people. Like every time, like it's so bizarre. Someone will be talking about something totally not even in any way related to anything. It might be healthcare, or it might be this postage situation or whatever. And invariably someone comes in and is like, oh, shut up. You live in a socialist country. They even took your guns. And it's just like, I don't see that as a bad thing. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't see the fact that we don't have school shootings as a bad thing. Yeah. But like, my point being is not so much that. It's more just like, rather than talk about whatever the topic is, they're piling on with all the other stuff, and you're just like, but that's not relevant to this. It's not relevant to this. So I'm more like trying to prepare myself for it. It was a decision that I made. I've been thinking about it. I've actually been thinking about it for a couple of weeks, like as this stuff is ramping up. But then I was reading an article from, I think it was the president of the Craft Industry Alliance was interviewed. I'll have to find the article. But anyway, she was talking about how this is a much bigger issue than people are allowing for. Like there's so many people that just don't understand where their craft products come from, where their supplies come from. It's like that whole generation of kids that think that groceries come from the shop. That steaks come from a store. They don't understand that they're actually cattle, is a thing. So mostly city kids, obviously, not farm kids. But there are people who don't understand where their food comes from, and they don't understand the whole chain of events that gives them their food. The same thing happens with crafting supplies. People don't understand the whole supply chain, and that this is affecting the entire supply chain. And obviously not just crafting stuff. It's everything. But to keep it in, line with what we're talking about here, it's crafting stuff. Sarah says, I'm very far from the ocean, but we've got great lakes and such, so lots of freshwater fish. I have seen videos and stuff of lakes. I personally have never really seen a proper big lake. I'm just trying to think about, there was one in New Zealand that I saw, which was a proper big lake, but I don't think I've seen proper big lakes here in Australia. Like I've seen some massive dams, and but like, are they lakes? Are they considered lakes where it's a dam, like for water, like water reservoirs? I don't know. Yeah, very, very possible that we're going to have trolls. Ah, yes, had to explain to a full-grown adult that chicken actually comes from, well, chickens. Oh my gosh. I could just imagine your face in that one, actually. Just like, wait, what? Now, I'm going to have to, I've got this horrible feeling that while we've been chatting, I've not been moving, like not been counting my marker moves properly. So I am going to have to go in and count the rows, which I hate doing. Let me know in the chat if you dislike counting knitted rows. Like, I'm going to have to count like 60 rows. I'll be like, ugh, so annoying. So annoying. I mean, at least I can do it. At least I know where the starting point was and I can go back and count them and double check where I'm up to. But yeah, there's a good chance I've botched this up. Pretty good chance. Pretty good chance. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If we can get away with not counting, then we use the measurements. Absolutely. And normally measurements are fine, but I've got to do a decrease every fourth row. And otherwise my sleeves are going to be like, bell sleeves or something. And I hate bell sleeves because I am 100% that person who puts their sleeves in things. Like, oh yes, I shall put my sleeve in this coffee. Awesome. I'm 100% that person. But I should probably count sooner rather than later, right? What have we at for time-wise? Are you guys all right if I just pause momentarily and have a quick count? Let me know in the chat. Are you all right if I do that, or should I just keep knitting? I would like to have a count. I'm getting a bit nervous about where I'm at. So let me know. Let me know while I drink some beverages. And if I'm off by one or two, I don't care. But if I'm off by a lot, Chantelle, see you later. It's great to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Happy to pause. Thank you, Dolores. Thank you. I'm just gonna grab a little hook here just so I can have something pointy. Because I'm not like my eyes are just the stitches are too small. All right. I'm like, that's 40. I need a stitch marker of some description. Or a piece of thread or something. Something. What am I caught on here? The handle of a bag. Look at that. I'll use that. Slippy, slippy. Okay. 40. That's exactly right. It is Thursday here. It is nearly midday. It's coming on to midday Thursday in Australia. We're in Brisbane. We currently have the same times up our east coast, but when daylight saving kicks in, that'll change. This Spin Girl says I put a stitch marker every 10 rows, so much easier to count. Yeah, I agree. I should be doing that. I think I'll have to. My clickables are all out in the living room, but I will definitely get those. Oh, thank you, Sarah Dawn. But yeah, it is Thursday. Time zones are weird and fun. Yes. So it's 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it says 67 and I've got 63. I'm going to try a second count just to double check in a different spot. Might be 62, depend over, 60, 63, 62. All right, let me just, where does it start down here? All right, every 10, hey? I'll use little scrappies of yarn for now. have to jump over a few stitches. I'm in the decrease area. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, you guys. I'm nearly there. And I should have just gone with the 10 to start with, shouldn't I? And I should have probably gone further away from the decreasy spot to start with. But I didn't. Okay. It's 67. I am 5 behind or 4 behind. Ah, stink. Grr. So I need to get in an extra repeat somewhere. But not this round because I've only just done one. Oh no, that was a couple of rounds back I did one. So I'm going to do an extra repeat now. Like as in an extra decrease. On row 68. Actually, row 68 should have been a decrease anyway. So this is not an extra. This is just what should be done. Okay, so all right, I'm on row 68. Yeah, I'll totally fudge it. Because I don't know where I've missed them. But what I can do is I can go back and count the increases. But I'm due to do one for this round anyway, so I'm going to do one. And then I'll go back and count how many decreases I've done. I should be able to see most of them. And we're out by like one decrease. Okay, so it's not a ton. It's not a ton. So if I can sneak in an extra decrease somewhere, it should be okay. And with where we're at with the arms as well, they are down past the widest part of my arm. So if we happen to do an extra decrease and it sort of cinches in a little bit extra somewhere, it's not going to matter so bad if it was like up the top of my arm. Whereas last time I tried it on, I was already past my elbow. So it's not going to mess the fit as such. So I can fudge it. Now that I've moved away from that a bit, what I'm going to do is that was that 40 marker. That one needs to come out so as to not confuse the situation. Okay, so let's count our decreases here. Oh, actually, do you know what? I'll save the decrease counting for later. That one's going to, I'd like to pull it up into my eye holes so I can have a good close-up look. In the meantime, I can just keep knitting. Just keep knitting, knitting, knitting. Just keep knitting. Nope, not everyone's here for the knitting. Okay, somebody left. Was it my singing? Was it my singing? Could have been. Could have been singing. It wasn't my best work. How's everyone going on their projects? Yeah, go for it, Talia. Bring on the fishies. So, a couple of weeks ago, I decided, I should get some new foods again. Now, like deliveries are on Fridays, and I'm like, cool. So I put my order in on last Monday, expecting to get a delivery last Friday. And I'm waiting around, blah, 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 blah. Going to check the emails because I've not received a notification or anything. I need to realize that even though I ordered last Monday, my first delivery is going to be tomorrow. So too bad if I accidentally, like if I needed those for last week, which I did. So I had to go out and buy some other stuff. But I was just like, I was waiting on that. Oh, yay. 10 grams left of the messy ball, but you got it sorted and I'm so glad. Sarah says it's coming along. I can see the start of the raglan happening, but I'm starting to overheat. It's two worsted wool yarns held together, so it's very, very warm. Oh my gosh. But you need warm jumpers there. That's what I have to remind myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never make that. And it's like, no, I probably wouldn't. But you need those there to keep all your body warmth with your body. Oh, hang on. Come back one stitch. Yes. All right, we have done a decrease. That. According to my count of decreases, I have the right number of decreases for this number of rows. So I've got a feeling that even though I was forgetting to tap the thing, I still did a decrease. Or maybe I don't know. I don't know the answer. Dolores says I'm going to be using two separate balls after this. I don't blame you. I don't blame you even slightly. That was a lot to deal with. Do you guys want to see a quick try on before we go? I could probably wangle that. Have a look at how the sleeve's fitting and let me know in the chat if you're up to see a try on. Don't be judging me. My phone's like, it's time to stand up. I'll stand up in a second, mate. You bossy britches. All right, let me get around the end of this row and then we'll do a try on. Like just checking the top I've got on to make sure it's easy enough to get something off and on over it. We're nearly at the end of the row. Yep. Alrighty. Got Sarah and Bianca and Dolores all want to see the try on. We can do that. Now I added in an extra cable on the bottom so I don't have to keep messing around with the pink stuff, the knitter barber thing, knitting barber, stitch saver, whatever we're calling it. So I don't have to mess around with that. I just got an extra cable in there to give it like ridiculous amount of length. So I don't have to worry about those stitches, because unfortunately I left that one on the back. I should just add on like some extra stitches and knit around to the front middle, because the back middle is where the start of round is. Okay, we are getting there. Nearly at the end of the row. A few more stitches. Giant stitch marker. Alrighty. We're up to row 70. Alrighty, let's go out to the big one. Louis is not here, so Louis Cam can go away. Cup of tea. I might pop your lid back on so I don't accidentally send that across the room, because that's happened. Alrighty, where's the chair? Okay. Front of the cardigan. Just detangling some bits and bobs here so I don't accidentally just randomly pull out stitches and what have you. Okay. Oh, I got needles in my hair. Where are those needles from? They shouldn't be there. Oh my gosh. Okay. Alrighty. So this is where we're at for the sleeves so far. Just pull this down a little. Alright. So yeah, so we've got that. So it's got a little bit of, there's a little bit of room in there, but it's an oversized shirt. Let me see if I can stand up. My chair is caught because there's a box sitting behind it, so it can't go all the way back. So we've still got, there's still a little bit of extra I want to do in the bottom. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I'm all tangled up here. And it's not going to be too tight. It's going to be lovely. Yes, long sleeves, long sleeves. Got plenty enough yarn, not going to run out. So I can make it longer body. I've just sort of stopped here while I get the sleeves on so I could get the right length of the body that I actually want. So the beige looks a teeny bit orange. It's kind of like a gold and bronze kind of situation. I'll take it off. Hang on. I'll take it off and get it up to a different camera so you can see the situation. Oh, my hair. Let me just fix my hair up before you guys see it. I can feel it. It's a mess. It's like janky. Okay. Alrighty, so the what are you caught on? Oh, that's a blanket back there. Alright. So the colours, I'm not sure if this camera will do it better, but it's kind of like bronzy, goldy, silvery middle kind of description is the best I can go with. That's probably pretty close. That's what I'm looking at on the display is probably pretty close. Let me just, there you go. So yeah, the headrest cover is, I love it. I'm so glad I did it. Like, you guys are awesome for thinking of that as an option. So glad I did it. Oh, I've been thinking that these things that have been rolling around on the floor are beads, but they look like they might actually be ball bearings out of something. I wonder if my chair's got ball bearings and I'm busting it up. Yeah, it's more bronze. It's definitely more bronze. I'm gonna have to check the chair, check the floor, work out what it is. Something is losing some ball bearings by the looks of it. Hmm. Interesting. Let's have a look. Okay, I've been drafted for a Christmas knitting. My person is making noises about wanting a medium weight blanket, and all I could think of is, but I could knit you that. uh, I mean, I haven't really knit a lot of blankets. I tend to crochet blankets. Yeah. So I don't know. I've started. I think what it is with the knitting of blankets, I try to get too adventurous, and then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm beyond my skills here, or I don't like how this join is joining up. It's usually I don't like how this join is joining up. So yeah. Oh, the knitworthy person, definitely worth looking into if they're a knitworthy person. So yeah. Well, my friends, on that note, I'm gonna bounce. I'm gonna keep going with this, and I need to go to the bathroom. So I'm gonna bounce just a couple of minutes early, and I will catch you all here next week. I hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye now.